Man, what's shaking? This is Matty Crypto. Let me tell you, I got an exciting one tonight. It's been a friend of mine. I consider it a friend. It's a Hexagon we all know and love. It's the long haired, lovable Fabio, known as Johnny Chaos. And dude, I'm excited. Let's get Johnny up in here right away. Hey, man.
Hey, folks, how's it going?
Good, dude. Listen, I've known you, heard about you, obviously since Hex started, and I've never actually had you on a stream or anything. So it's exciting for me. We were talking a little bit back in the green room about stuff that you've been into, your life, your some of your childhood and things you're interested in. And I reached out to you on Twitter, and I wanted people to kind of get to know you earlier, Johnny Chaos, not the Johnny Chaos of Hex and Pulse Chain, and some of the shorts that I've come to love. I want to touch on some of your childhood. Like I wanted to get to know like the 13-year-old Johnny. But before I do, there was a guy on Twitter. Let me bring this up here. I had it just a second ago. This is great. So his name is what was it? Crapton
Little
Crypto.
Mexico.
Yeah, he asked. He said, "How did you get the nickname Chaos?" And I'm sure a lot of OG Hexicans like myself would like to get that cleared up too. What's the story behind the name Johnny Chaos? Where did they come from?
Well, you guys know my company. If you knew my company, you pretty much find me, right? We see.
Whoop.
Oh, is it not focusing?
Where are you? Let
Not
me see if
gonna
I can
focus,
make
is
you
it?
bigger there. Oh, that's not good.
Damn it.
There we go. Chaos Creations.
Chaotic Creations, aka CCFX Studios, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll be skipping ahead to my teenage years here. You don't have to go back to young Johnny. We skip ahead to my teenage years here. And when I was, 16, 17 in the parents' basement where I pretty much took over, uh, that's where I had my first studio, my first art studio. Um, and the type of stuff I was learning to do was with plaster and molding and sculpting, and it was messy, and spraying paint and everything else. So it was really a messy area in the studio. And I would get into these things and I'd get the basement totally blown up. So my mother would just be freaking out. It's all blown up. It's all blown up there. What a chaotic mess. What a chaotic mess down there. Oh, Bob, don't go down there. Little Johnny Chaos is at it again. That's actually where it came from.
It was your mom
My
originally.
mother gave it to me.
That's awesome. That's been around a long time.
Long, long time.
In my
Over
mind,
30 years.
I see little Johnny Chaos as this kind of a devious Dennis the Menace
Like
with a
Dennis the Menace, yeah.
yeah,
Like Dennis
like
the Menace. I was
mischief
always
and
into something,
pranks.
experiments, putting things together, tearing things apart, trying to figure out how things work. And then the art studio and stuff was kind of that. I would build things. I did have 2 years of electronics. I built a satellite dish when I was really young, before satellite dishes were like a popular thing. Basically a satellite dish just to grab the airwaves of antennas. And by God, we got 8 channels up on the top of Tolosa Hill uh,
I remember those days. Was
in West Virginia.
the huge
Uh,
disc? Remember those in people's yards? They're
yes,
massive, like 10-foot wide discs.
yeah. So what I did when I figured I used the conductivity of the copper wire, wrapped it around a trash can lid, and basically built a dish, not really knowing how to build a dish, but we hooked it up and it did work. So it was kind of cool. We got like 5 or 6 channels back in the day. But no, so with the whole basement thing, like I said, it was taking this thing that my mother was kind of using as a negative annotation and taking ownership of it. Right. So as this is a hobby, my parents had much higher hopes for me. They wanted, they wanted me to go to law school, uh, or be a doctor, or one of those things. Lord forbid, don't be an artist. Artists starve. They didn't really have high hopes. They didn't really have an understanding for what I was building or what I was doing. So they weren't very supportive for years. Uh, and it was always a negative annotation. Um, I quit for a while and worked like multiple jobs, running around doing the hustle thing. Um, and that was I wasn't really finding anything that was filling my creative need. I stayed busy, I made money, but I wasn't really finding anything to fill that creative need. Um, I mean, there's a lot. There's so much. You can't compress like 30 years
Yeah. Yeah.
into an hour show. So I'm trying to figure out like the key points to skip around to kind of give you guys an idea without having to go into every freaking step. So
I love some of your Twitter that has like it showcases some of your art, and I get it. It
mm,
feels like almost like a George Romero kind of horror animal monster vibe. Was that early on? Were you already into that kind of genre stuff as a young kid, or is that like a high school college thing?
so as a kid, I liked horror movies. Okay, and or I should say, maybe I watched some horror movies when I was really young that I shouldn't have, and they kind of got in my head and
God,
made
me
me
too, man.
watch.
Same story.
So I have an analytical mind. So like like all of us generally try to make explanations for things that we don't understand to dismiss them, right? That's typical human behavior. In my case is I wanted to get to why. How are these things done? How did they fool me? Can I replicate that effect? Can I do that thing? How would I do that thing? So, as a kid, I would get into doing short films and stuff with my friends, and we'd stage effects and build props and uh, do stuff for fun. Um, none of which you're really going to find anywhere. Have fun tracking that shit down. But
No props from Johnny's earlier days.
well, I still have probably the very first mask that I sculpted, but it's like really falling apart and decaying and stuff because it was like the very first piece that I did in latex is actually degradable. So I got into watching horror movies, having an analytical mind. I wanted to understand how things were done. I came across Charles Band's movies, his Full Moon video line. And what was unique about Full Moon video line is like nowadays everything has a behind the scenes kind of thing. But back in the day, there was only Full Moon videos that had like the video zone, and they had like a 15-minute piece on special effects in the back, where you got to hang out with the special effects artists and learn how they do some of the stuff that they do. Trying to learn how to do special effects stuff was a hard road because when I was learning how to do it, uh, there wasn't a lot of information on it. Now, if you're interested in the kind of stuff that I do and you want to learn it, your best bet is, and I'm no sponsorship link here, guys, but StanWinstonSchools.com is actually where I go to for continued education, where you get to hang out with some of the Hollywood professionals and really learn directly from the sources. And actually, I know a lot of the guys. I've met them in person through conventions and trade shows and stuff. So now it's actually really kind of bizarre. You go watch them in videos and stuff, and but they're people that and you can learn from. So that's kind of cool. All right, pick another direction.
Okay. So well, speaking of your business and stuff, is there a way we can support that or kind of spread the word about that? Is it like
See,
online or site?
here's the thing, man. This is where I suck at business so bad. I am terrible at self promotion. I have never really got into the whole self promotion aspect.
Mhm.
This is why this whole experience with Hex has been so socially awkward for me because never in 1,000 years did I expect to put myself in front of thousands of people that were hanging on my every word, right?
Right.
I got attacked by trolls back in the day just for making products that were similar to other products that were improved, right? I got attacked by trolls. I mean, for example, I've got a blood paint product, okay, and my blood paint product literally blows everything away on the market that's ever been made
It's
as
not the
far as
Karo
blood
syrup
paint.
and the food coloring.
This is not corn syrup and food coloring. This is a paint. This is a paint that doesn't stain your skin, right? It can be painted on props and stuff that will stay shiny for years, never dull, never fade. And I sound like I'm a infomercial, right?
Yep.
So, and I tried this and I did the marketing and I did this and I got attacked by the Kleenex of blood, which has a brand name, but they're like the Kleenex. So everybody says Kleenex instead of
Oh,
tissues. Everybody says this company's name instead of just a blood paint. They won't say that. They'll say it's this type of blood.
The Xerox of printing.
Right. And literally, I face the same thing as we kind of sort of have in Hex, where you get people that are in denial, where they will say, no, this blood is the best. Well, have you tried mine? No, but I know this is the best. Yours is a cheap knockoff. Really? How do you know that? You haven't tried mine. And I got trolled to shit. You know what I did? I said, well, screw y'all. You can suffer with that other shit that runs and bleeds and fades and dulls and does all that shit. You can deal with that. I'm not giving you my product. Right?
Right.
So screw them. By the way, my blood paint went to the artist that created Alice Cooper's lab coat on stage on his last tour.
Really?
My blood paint goes to a 30-year veteran that ran Universal Studios for 19 years. That individual, by the way, individual, by the way, is the guy that originally put out VHS tapes that actually taught about where I first found my first knowledge on how to sculpt and mold and make fully mechanical masks was Michael Burnett Productions. And just recently, him and his wife now have subscribed to my latex product and my blood paint product. After 30-year veterans in the space, not changing anything, doing everything exactly the same way, love my product to death.
Well, man, I would love to support you. I know Hexicans would too. And, you're not that kind of guy. You're not this big self-promotion, self-aggrandizing, look at me kind of guy. But I would love to maybe after this share some links and stuff in the future of like what we could do to support you, go to your site and things. But let's pivot to crypto, man. I know you've been in crypto for a long time, at least I think 7 years. I heard you talking back in
2017, yeah. 2016, 17.
So when you got into crypto, what was some of the first, obviously Bitcoin and stuff, what were some of the coins that initially piqued your interest back in 2016?
Oh, Lord.
It was a mess back then.
So here's the thing, right? So like I came in like a lot of these people I see with shiny object syndrome, right? And when I'm telling people not to get shiny object syndrome, it's because I've experienced it, right? Mm-hmm. All the hype, you're like, but this coin, but that coin, but this coin, but that coin. And then when someone asks you, but why? You've got no explanation. You're just in FOMOville, like where you think that everything's, oh man, this is going to be big. They're going to put IRQ code tags on this one thing and this is going to be big. It's going to be adopted. You know what? I am one of the first dudes to use IRQ code labeling. I'll show you. Hold on just a second here.
IRQ code labeling. Yeah, it's everywhere now.
Yeah, and nobody still uses it. Let me tell you. So in 2007, I designed my labels. In 2007, what's there?
Damn.
What's there? You see what's there?
There it is. I didn't even know they existed in 2007.
Yes, they did. In 2007, I designed my labels. I designed the label. Wait. God. I added the IRQ code. I added the IRQ code 7 years ago.
Okay.
So that would be 2015.
That's early though, man. Early.
So 2015, I added the IRQ code to my labels. But the original label was designed in 2017. They were designs that I did back then, or 2007. I did back in 2007. Those are designs that I did then, 2008, 2007. And then I added the IRQ code 7 years ago because it's when I got this property, and I had those labels ran.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we talked about 2016 and 17. I remember that. It was just such a stupid time period, and you don't know because you're in that, and it's all relative to where you are. And it was all, to me, it was pre-Hex, it was pre-Richard Hart stuff. I was trying so hard at that time to absorb as much information as I could, but it felt like a losing battle. There were so many projects that were they were designed to pump and dump or just literally flat out scam you. And honestly, all I wanted at that time was to find something in crypto that would be passive income to me. And I know
Right.
you were around during that madness.
Yeah.
Did you hit on any gems, or was it just
That
that
was
time period was just brutal?
exactly what I was looking for too, was passive income. And I was using Costcoin and KuCoin, and I was getting the dividends from the Costcoin and the KuCoins, which turned into dust that was absolutely worthless. They changed their updates on their policy on what you could, what you could actually cash out. So you would get this dust of a coin that would go unlisted, and then you'd have dust of nothing, and you couldn't even
Right.
trade it for anything. And KuCoin was doing pretty much the similar thing, and then they changed it. There were several iterations where they changed it, where you were only earning this or you were only earning that. So literally, like, I watched how the platform manipulated what you agreed to, what you thought you were going to get, the yield you thought you were going to get got manipulated. And I liked Neo because Neo generated gas, and that was something that I could watch in my wallet and watch the ticker go up. And I did have my bout with leverage trading, where literally I would pick the right direction within minutes. I would
Scam
have the right direction, right? And then as soon as I place my position, I get scam wicked out, and then it goes exactly within hours, right where I thought it was going to go to begin with. After I get scam wicked, I've gone to sleep and I woke up and it got scam wicked. And then I was like, wait a second here, all right, fine. I'm gonna set these stop losses. All right, and the stop losses get popped so quick, and you're like, oh yay, look, it never went over, whatever. I'm fine. You come in and you're like, oh shit, my stop loss is popped.
Yep.
Right, and then you realize something that's very important. Stop losses are only there to make you comfortable with losing a little instead of losing it all. That's the key. Because you make excuses. You're like, oh, I'll get it next time.
Yeah.
They ganked you for part of your money, and you're just going to lose it slower now because they're going to keep ganking you because you're going to keep trying, and they're going to keep popping your stop losses, and you're comfortable with that. And you accept that because a little's better than losing it all.
Yeah. It's so deja vu hearing you talk about that, because that is a lot of people get into this. You just see trading. You got to trade. You got to get on this exchange. You got to, learn this. Take my course. I fell victim to a lot of that stuff, and I tried so hard to trade. And again, this is before Richard Hart, and thank God that man came around, not only for Hex, but I've told that story before, that he was the one who stopped me from trading. Like you're saying, you get that little rush. You win a couple of trades, and then you, like you're saying, go to sleep, and you got a couple of trades active, and you come back and bam, the scam wicks. It's so tough on your psyche and your mind, and you feel like I was so stressed so many days and evenings. You can't go anywhere. You're constantly hooked to a computer or my phone watching current trades, and my blood pressure was crazy, and I hated living that way. So I traded for a few years, and I would win 2 or 3 in a row. And then the losses were just stupid. I would lose my whole stack, and these tiny wins and lose a whole stack. So again, thank goodness for Richard Hart. Stopping trading was one of the biggest things I could ever do in my entire crypto journey. So, but I know, man, it hits home hearing you talk about that. I know so many people had that exact same experience you described.
And when you think about leverage trading, what are you doing exactly? You're trying to earn more of that coin, right?
Yeah.
You're taking all the risk for trying to get a higher percentage of that coin, that derivative anyway, that you can trade for that coin. So literally, you're trying to make coins on your coins is what you're trying to do with the leverage trading. So, the fact that there's something that we can do it without risk, so when I did come across Richard Hart, I'm like, okay, this guy's Willy Wonka at the Chocolate Factory. This is kind of silly to me, right? But I listened to him, and I'm like, he's not the Richard we see today at all. He's
Right.
not the verbose character that we see at all today. He was a very nerdy, passive, quiet dude, that spoke very softly and made a lot of sense.
Was that top hat and blazer, Richard?
With top hat and blazer, Richard, And I'm like, if this guy does what he says he's going to do, this is going to be freaking awesome, because this is exactly what I've been looking for. And, you learn over time that there are no crypto experts. It's literally anybody with a camera and since like 2017 was the birth of the influencers, we gave these people a lot more credibility than they were worth because we didn't think about getting a camera. We didn't think about going on TV and talking about cryptos. This wasn't near as popular. And what made it so popular with the Hexicans was we were locked down with COVID. We had to seek alternate means of communications.
That's a good point.
And we couldn't meet, so it was hard to do meetups and stuff like that. So it was basically, just finding other people that we could bounce ideas off of. And it's like, we see a lot of coins come out and they want empathy from the Hexicans. Oh, you're gatekeeping it like us, like Hex was gatekept. Yeah, okay. And Hex did just fine. What's your problem? And it's like they want that empathy. They want that entitlement empathy. We're not giving them a fair shake. Since Hex didn't get a fair shake, we should give them that empathy. And here's the thing. We've already experienced a lot of other shit, right? This isn't our first rodeo. And usually when people come out of the gate and they're making excuses from the start, that's not a good sign, guys. Usually when they come out from the start and they're like, those backsies, you better watch those backsies. They don't want you to succeed. Why do you think we're here? Do you think we need to be here? Try to keep people from hitting themselves in the head with a hammer. That's why we're here. Do you think it's really going to change our lives much for a zero? Think a 10X is going to change it much for the OGs? Not much. Really isn't. Sorry.
I think so many people see Hexicans, especially new people that kind of buy into the scam thing, and they think we're trying to pump our bags, and it's not. People that I talk to, I've got my bags. I've had them since day one,
and we're making an interest. It only has to stay the same.
Right. We're making just more yield. So the streams that I see, the people who have influence in this community, like yourself, we just want to help people. We genuinely give our time to help other people. We're already staked. If Hex stays at 5 or 6 or 7 cents, I'm totally fine with that. It's not going to be a problem for me. And I don't say that to brag. I just say that I know what Hex is. I know the code. I know exactly what I'm going to get in the future. I'm just going to get more and more Hex. And this isn't the scam that people are so used to. I mean, speaking of scams and corruption, it's all over the news recently. I want to get your thoughts on this. The FTX and the Luna, Celsius, BlockFi, they all make the headlines. And this
Voyager, Babel.
Right. Yeah.
Voyager, Babel, Cream Finance, Pickle Finance, all 400 and some odd things have fallen down and burnt. 400 things have fallen and burnt. Like we're still here.
Yeah. And I hear from people, it's like they come to me when they hear this stuff on the news, like, I told you so, see what crypto happened, and this is what it is. And instead you hear all that negative stuff. And what these times show me is how important it is to be in control of your wallet and your keys and your crypto. And you mentioned in a recent tweet how crypto, you said crypto didn't fail. You said, but the attempt by circulated control to take over crypto, that failed. Can you, for people who may not be aware of the whole FTX fiasco, were you keeping tabs on that? Can you explain that a little bit? Why that's not real crypto? It's not what Hex is.
Okay, so you give your coins to the exchange. They give you an IOU. They now have your coins. You think you have your coins, but actually you just have a receipt, right?
Right.
They now have control over those coins. If they want to, they can sell those coins. And if you're over here with your account leverage trading and you lose your money, they never have to pay you back. And since they were a leverage trading platform, what happened is very simple. They expect everybody to lose their money. They expected them to get ground up and shorted, and they were irresponsible with the reserve because they didn't think they'd ever have to pay them back anyway. And the odds were in their favor that they wouldn't have to pay anybody back because most traders lose all their money. So literally, you are trading with paper cryptocurrency, thinking that the price goes up and down, and then you try to cash out. And you show up, and they're like, well, we don't really have those here. It's kind of like going to a bank. It's the same sort of thing. What they're creating is a fractional reserve system, right? If you go to your local bank branch and you say, I want $20,000, they'll say, come back in a week. You got to order that.
Right.
Right. They won't let you take out more than $5,000 at a time. Most branches won't. They don't keep on hand more than $5,000 at a time. Why? Because they can get robbed. So they don't keep it. They don't keep it on hand. So I took a cashier's check to the bank for $20,000, and I set it down on the table. I said, "I'll take my cash, please." They're like, "Well, we can't do that." I'm like, "Really? Is that your name on the check? Is that your signature? Is this a cashier's check? Is this not same as cash? I would like my cash, please."
It's
We
scary.
don't have that here. Oh, really? So it's okay for you to write a check that you don't have the funds for. But if I were to do that, I would go to jail. Do I need to call the cops? Where's my money? This is, you just wrote a check that you can't cash. Isn't that illegal? So they called 5 other branches. None of them had $20,000.
Really? That's ridiculous.
At one place, they didn't have it. They could pull it all together, but they couldn't get it from one particular branch. No branch had $5,000 on hand. So, guys, if you're going to try to rob a bank, the best you're going to get is $5,000. So don't do the jail time. All right. So
It's not worth it.
just buy yourself some Hex and stake it and wait about a year. You'll be good.
Yeah, let's talk about Hex. I mean, this is probably what people want to hear, watching you anyway. And I've heard you in previous streams. You make a good point. You said that how people don't understand the idea of a finished product, and that's what Hex was. Like that was it stood out to me back in December of 2019 how Hex was finished the day it launched. It was there was no code changes or a promise or we're going to get to a patch and we'll fix this in the future if something goes wrong. Can you talk a little bit about how important or unique the idea of a day one finished product? Even then it felt kind of special. Something just launched and I knew right away that it was immutable. It was code. It's on the blockchain. Nobody has control over it, but it can never, ever change. It was done forever.
And see, people don't like that for one reason, right? They're in a generation where they're used to their computers updating. They're used to their video games downloading expansions. They're used to their video games downloading bug fixes. They're used to expansion sets. They're like, well, if it's done, well, it's done. There's nothing more. Give me more. I want more to it. What they failed to understand is people can still build onto it, and people have. That's why we have like Hedron and Icosa, which are derivatives that you receive for staking your Hex. So that's an add-on. That's an added bonus that you get. But the code itself is basically like a cartridge. All the code, all the laws, everything has been programmed. This is the way that it works, and you plug it into your system and you run it. So Hex is more like a cartridge. All the rules are there. They can't be changed. The game works as long as you want to play it. It never dies. You can plug it into any system, any upgraded system that you want to, and still operate it. So it's not like it goes obsolete. In fact, your T-shares by design get better with time. They age and they get better, progressively better, as where like hardware gets outdated, right? So the code has this design, so this is where I get frustrated when people say, well, I'm in coding and I understand blockchain. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't understand. What you understand is what you took school for. And back then, when you were taking school for it, it was very limited. It doesn't really take much to know about Ledger. Okay. What has been designed in Hex is actually utilizing the code that exists to its fullest capacity, actually programming in a share rate system and, 3 different pools and all this beautiful mathematical code that is a self-balancing system with a deferred inflationary model. And they don't get that because it's like trying to describe a platypus to somebody who's never seen one before. They're never going to believe you, right? If they've never seen one before, they're never going to believe you because they only know this much, right? They're trapped within the confines of what they believe is their education, and they don't realize that the environment has changed and all these additional things have been added.
Yeah, I remember back in 2019. It was early 2019. I was hearing about Hex, and it was a delay. I remember talking to Richard Hart.
Oh, yeah.
I was like bombarding him because it seemed so at the time. I know this is hard to believe because we know Hex and we understand, and it seemed kind of simplistic now. Then it was called Bitcoin Hex, and I was trying to digest the Hex.com website, and it had all these explanations and definitions and stuff. It was like staking and shares and the emergency in stake and claiming Hex of Bitcoin and silly whale penalties and stuff. And I thought it was so overwhelming, but still simplistic in its model. You just get hex, stake it, accrue yield, and hopefully the price goes up. Did you
Yeah.
feel in those early days? First of all, did you know about hex when it was that early? And did you
Oh,
understand?
I was there for the whole development.
Okay.
So
I knew you
yeah,
were super early. I
I
didn't
knew when it
know
was
you were
going to
there.
Bitcoin Hex. I was there before the logo was picked. I was there before the websites went up. Yeah,
Nice. So you can't be any more OG than Johnny Chaos. Did the website to you seem overwhelming at all, or did you
hated it.
get it?
Hated it.
Okay.
I hated the marketing. I hated everything about it. When Hex launched and the website came out and that scammy ass marketing hit, the referral codes thing hit, I
Yeah.
absolutely hated all of it. It made me doubt everything that I believed in Hex up to that point. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. This thing's going to turn out to be another one of those fucking BitConnect
Yeah.
things.
It felt
Honestly,
scammy to me.
honestly, it looks scammy as fuck. I would not send anybody to that website. I mean, I was like, no, dude, I'm going to talk to you. Don't even look at the website. Let me just get you some of these coins and we'll call it good here.
Oh
okay?
yes. How about that? I mean, if someone wasn't in crypto and never,
Mhm.
if you're first influence in crypto, if you just told them to go to hex.com, that would have been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and we did. A lot of people did. They sent them to hex.com prematurely before it had grown, and you know, a lot of people immediately were repulsed by that, and they probably won't go back. You know, it's first impressions are very important, right? And I mean, we'll get into why it was designed the way that it was, but first impressions are very important, right? If you go to a restaurant and you have a bad experience there, or you don't like their bathroom or whatever, you're never going back there.
Right.
You're just like, I'm never going back. You might not say anything. You just check in and you check out and you don't go back. That's what happens with first impressions. You have X amount of time to make that first impression. Now, how the marketing was set up is it was designed to compete with the same style marketing that other scams used effectively that have been proven to work to gain people's interest. So it was a good product disguised as a scam with the same kind of marketing tactics in order to compete for the market share of the scams. Richard was very excited that some of the people that were formerly promoting scams started promoting Hex, and they were able to do so because of the referral program, which I didn't like either because I did not want to be associated with those people that formerly promoted scams. And I didn't want to put my face out there, and I didn't want to promote Hex because as a result of the stigma that went with that, I had really no interest in it. And I do not believe those people have changed one damn bit. Okay. So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be associated with that. So I attempted to do like some behind the scenes sort of videos first. And then I didn't really get drawn in until RG and Hexo started doing it. And RG, I went on his show once and he's like, you know, and he kind of depended on me to fill in the gap when he needed somebody to gab and I could talk. So, you know, I was kind of the space filler for that. So,
Yeah, and to me, Hex, it's always felt unique. You mentioned it kind of feels, and I did too. It kind of felt and looked like a scam, but at the time, I knew if this worked and it actually did what it was supposed to do, it's definitely not a scam. It did feel like it did stuff. It had a function. It had real utility, and people who are just chasing the next meme coin and they don't understand kind of the dynamics or the use case of Hex. And if they do, that you may buy a little bit of Hex and you stake it, but very few people truly understand like the implications of what happens if you emergency in stake something. So
right.
if you were talking to people, a new Hexagon who just staked some Hex, how do you explain to them like the importance of the emergency in stake feature and how important it is to get that right?
That it's a contract with yourself and you should set terms you can honor and honor the terms you set. It does not reward people for trying to cheat the system. You do not get bigger bonuses by trying to cheat the system. It's got what's called a truth engine. And that's one of the aspects that I really liked about it because it incentivizes people for doing the right thing and it penalizes people that would try to cheat the system. And that was a very important thing to me because the crypto space is full of cheaters and people that are trying to play in game systems. And as a person that honors your word, you are the one that benefits from that. you benefit from the cheaters trying to find ways to exploit it. And I looked at the code and it's like, you can't beat this. You can't
Right.
beat this. Code is law. You can't lie to the system and get away with it. You don't get to keep the bigger bonus if you say that you were going to do more than you were and you think, oh, okay, well, I'll cash out now. I'll get to keep the bigger bonus. You don't get it. It gets taken away. So there's really no reason in this system to set terms you can't honor or don't intend to honor. And if you don't honor them, it undoes that progress. And the way I explain it for people that might be afraid of that is, well, banks take penalties, 401ks take penalties. The difference is the bank or the 401k company gets those penalties. In Hex, you are the one that gets those penalties or part of those penalties as a result of people being unable to fulfill their obligation.
People who
Now,
are staked. Yeah.
now, early on, I got upset with people because they wanted everybody to stake 555. And, it's like people get very susceptible that they want to be part of this club or they want to say, oh, I'm all in 555. You don't want to be all in 555. That's dumb. You need to be able to ration yourself, because if you're not rationing yourself somewhat, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're setting terms that that you're not going to be able to honor. Nobody holds anything hardly for 15 years. I mean, I do. I'm a collector. I've got collectibles that are over 15 years old. But most people don't have the collector's mentality and they're not able to handle that. I mean, I truly believe that if Hex hits $1, 80% of those 555s that exist today are gone.
That's a great point. Yeah. And it's one reason why, like you were saying, it's foolish to go, like, if you got a million Hex, for instance, just to pick a number, to have the people influence you or push you, feel like you have to go, I'm going to go 5555 to show how supportive I am. Man, the desire to emergency in stake, if that was your only stake and you had no ladders, you miss all that price appreciation. Just watching that go from 3 cents to $1. I don't know how you wouldn't emergency in stake. I think you're right. If we do see 50 cents, 75 cents, $1, we're going to get a lot of Hex. The stakers who stick around are going to get a ton.
You're going to get a shit ton of rewards, man.
Oh my God, it's going to be nuts.
Because it's a deferred inflationary model, so it means that inflation doesn't really hit the market. So actually, like, only 1% supply increase actually, or 1.73% actually came on the market last year. And the year before that, it was 1.73%.
I didn't know that.
Deferred inflationary model. So actually what happens is that money gets pushed out into the future. That the rest of that 3.69% gets pushed out to the future. So it doesn't actually occur. So our inflation rate is actually less than Bitcoin's.
Okay.
So
here's a question. Is it true if you have a long stake and it's been around since before Big Payday, if you emergency in stake now,
no Big Payday,
you don't get that Big Payday bonus?
Big Payday is gone. You made the biggest lie that you possibly could make. You may still get some yield, but you tried to game the system. You planned to end your stake before then. You said 555 to get the bigger bonus, and
right.
the Truth Engine is going to bitch slap your ass. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, the penalty. I've seen a few of those. People forget, or I don't know what they're doing, honestly. You see the Twitter updates. Do you see that where it says penalty and it's like 80, 90%, sometimes close to 100%, and you just feel for these people because
because there really, but there really has not been a crypto that holds people accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
This is what's really important. And people are like, well, I don't like that. Oh, you don't like telling the truth? Right. I understand. It's the crypto space. None of you fuckers like to tell the truth. I understand why you have a problem with that. So I mean, that's what they're like. Well, I don't want to be locked up. Oh, but you want to cheat the system and you want to get the bigger bonuses, but you don't want to be locked up. Well, guess what? Don't stake.
Right. You get the choice. It's totally up to you.
It's absolutely optional. You do not have to lie to the code. No one is making you lie to the code. If you choose to use the code, you need to not lie to the code. It's just that damn simple.
You can keep it liquid.
Price appreciation, okay? Brad Mills. Did you see that post?
What, recently?
Brad Mills. He could have bought 8 million Hex for $960. 8 million Hex for $960. Okay?
Wow.
And he didn't. Okay? If he would have just held liquid, no staking, That's over $222,000 at today's price. At the top, it was over $4 million.
Did he address that?
$960, spit in Richard's face, told Richard he didn't know what he was talking about, and it's all on tape. Now it's all a matter of historical fact that Brad Mills would have $222,000 today if he would have bought the $960 worth of Hex and forgot he had it.
My God. Yeah, I remember him ripping Hex. He was one of the biggest proponents of Hex back then. He was really, really tearing people up about that and really ripping into Richard. But he never actually got on a live stream or anything with Richard.
Yes,
he
there's
did?
a live stream. It's in my links, so you
Okay.
can follow it.
I'll have to show people that.
It's actually under, I forget, I shared whoever's post that shared it. And then it's in the links underneath there, the full video of Richard's interview with Brad Mills, as basically he was trying to explain to him how Bitcoin was superior and that Hex was never going to do anything. And because of his own ego, he missed the opportunity to turn $960 into $222,000 at today's prices.
Crazy.
But let's be legitimate about this, okay? That would have never happened, because it would have went up to $3,000 or $5,000, and Brad would have sold it.
He'd have got out. Yeah, he's
Because
not going to wait
never
for it.
staked, and he would have never wrote it up. Just like a lot of us OGs would be gone by now.
Yeah.
If we hadn't staked for a ladder up to 15 years, we'd be gone. Why? Because back in the day, we were told a penny was impossible.
Mm-hmm.
A penny was impossible. That'd never happen because market cap would be way too high and blah, blah. And we did not realize back then that market cap was a vanity metric, because up until that point, it was one of those metrics that we valued. We had to learn a lot on our journey. We had to understand that volume is spoofed, that volume doesn't matter. We had to learn that market cap doesn't really matter. It's an unachievable metric. Okay. We had to learn that, centralized exchanges do all this wash trading, and what they count as volume isn't even volume. It's literally them trading proxies, not even the real coins being traded around. It's proxies, because you don't know what happens in their world. Once it leaves your hand, it's off the blockchain. It goes in their wallet.
Yeah.
Now you're playing on their system.
It's not even your crypto anymore.
Blockchain, which is basically a simulator, is what it is. Centralized exchanges are basically a simulator of what you're doing with your money, that they may or may not honor your accounts. They may or may not lock you out of your accounts. Is that it?
I think Johnny shared. Thanks for sharing that, Johnny Rocket, for sharing that. I hope that's the right link, man. I trust Johnny Rocket. He's one of the best guys I know in crypto. So that's probably a
How
great
many
link.
people we got here? Did I draw anybody in?
It's weird because that's something I wanted to mention to you. I was gonna record this. It wasn't gonna be live. Then Chaos said, join tonight. We're gonna be. I was like, oh my God, let me change something real quick.
I put you on the spot. See, look, man, you got to talk in front of a live crowd. How you feel about that?
I feel great about it, really, honestly. I don't have a problem with it. Sometimes I like to record things just in case we flub around and have some mistakes. We can edit, and I can have a chance, like a 24-hour, to kind of get some hype around it. But Chaos put me on the spot. I was like, man, I got to double down here with like an hour to go. And we got to go live, as I said. But yeah, I don't think we have many.
Let me see if I can send you something funny here, Manny.
You what?
Let me see if I can send you something fun here, because you have a cameo appearance.
What?
In one of my character videos.
You're kidding.
Yeah, you have a cameo appearance.
In the Francis stuff?
Nope. Remember when Francis Finance crashed the party at
Was it in Vegas?
In Vegas, yeah.
That was a fun time.
Let me see. Is it in videos? I don't know, but go ahead with your question. I'm gonna.
Okay, yeah, look around. We'll throw it up. I think I kind of glossed over something that I think is a really big deal about Hex. It's the whole idea of staking, and it's hard to overstate. I mean, just how amazing that feature is. To me, it actually, you were talking about how we wouldn't ride the price up. And it's true for me. Hex staking saved me from myself. If it wasn't for the ability to stake and lock up my hex, I would have sold when it hit the first 50x or 100x. And I look back thinking, I'm so happy that I didn't lose a big bag of my hex. I would have missed out on so much price appreciation, not to mention the accumulation of more hex. There's so few tokens. I guess there's a few now that have a staking feature. I was curious to get your opinion. What makes the hex staking feature different from the others that have staking?
So are we talking about derivatives, or are we talking about other coins other than Hex?
Oh, we lost you for a second, Johnny. You back?
Are we talking about derivatives, or are we just talking about other coins other than Hex?
Oh, I guess just the staking, the idea of other coins being able to stake.
Is it on a platform, or is it from your wallet? That is a big difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Because if you're staking and you're giving like the Ethereum holders, oh, you guys are stupid for locking your coins up for 5 years. Yeah, when you getting yours back? Do you know? Who's going to give them back? Because you don't have them. I bet you didn't know how long you were staking for. You've been staked for about 2 years. A lot of people are staked on Coinbase with their Ethereum 2.0s, right? And they don't know what yield they're making. No amount of yield has been disclosed. The code is not upfront for you. We're stupid. We're the ones that have a contract that says what we're going to get. We've got daily statistics that tell us what we're earning, and we have full control and retention of our coins. So, with other things, Crypto.com, centralized platform. They can shut you off. You may not get your coins. You have to decide whether or not you get your coins. Any of these other platforms, Celsius, whatever, any of these other staking functionalities, there's off switches. So the biggest difference between Hex and other staking coins is the off switches, which is a very important function. Now, the problem is people coming into the space that are used to banks are looking for somebody else to give their money to. They want a customer service line. They don't want alternate currency. They want supplemental. They want to find something that's similar. They haven't taken the step yet to understand that crypto was designed in the first place to be self-sovereign, to hold your keys. And people are like, but someone doesn't want to hold their keys. I got the perfect solution for you. You don't want to hold your keys? Stay in a bank. You don't belong in crypto, because that's not what crypto was here for. Crypto is not here to enrich exchanges. You know what Bitcoin's primary use case is? It's a token that you trade for an ERC20 token, so you can bet on whether or not the price goes up and down, so you can get liquidated and enrich exchanges. That is the primary use case for Bitcoin nowadays. Sad but true.
Have you, when you look around Hex, and it's been so successful now, we have so many, YouTube channels and colorful people who talk about Hex. It does worry me when new people who find maybe Bitcoin or just crypto in general, they may see this community that we have and think it's almost too good to be true. And I know it's a valuable, life-changing product, but trying to explain the features of Hex to someone, it can scan, like we said earlier, it can sound a little scammy, or like we're trying to get them to get into something. It makes it hard, because Hex actually, to me, it's an outstanding product, and it does.
Nobody believes you when so it's like, look, when that's the caveat. When it's too good to be true, usually it is, and that serves people well. That will serve you well. Okay. But the key word that you're missing here is usually. There are these things that do happen once in a lifetime that actually do what they're supposed to do. Imagine that. Imagine in the crypto space that something for once actually does what it's supposed to do and does it flawlessly. I know that's pretty far-fetched, because 99% of cryptocurrency sucks. And people are like, oh, but you got to try the new one. Don't be harsh on it. You Hex Maxi. 99% fails. Been there, done that, saw that. Okay. If it lasts a couple years, maybe I'll take a look at it. Hex has 3 years. It's proven itself. It has never failed. It has always been able to do what it says it's going to do. What the code.
And it's a relief, because again,
it isn't dependent on the community. It isn't dependent on what the market price is. The code runs regardless of what the market price is. It's perfectly sustainable. It can always produce the coins that it produces because basically it's a game where you took out the monsters between you and the gold and you put in a stopwatch. It's really boring. That's what it is. It's boring. You wait a certain amount of time and it's like a faucet. Coins come out. There are faucets in crypto. I don't understand why people don't understand it so much. I think it's because they get caught up in the technicals and they don't understand how it works. And because they don't understand how it works, instead of trying to learn,
right.
You know, they just say, nah, that's just too complicated. It's not really that complicated. You set a term with yourself, you get more coins. That's how complicated it actually is. You set terms you can honor and honor the terms you can set, you get more coins. What the market value is purely based on the market, but at least you know that you're earning, you know, and I do this with chips, you know. When you're gambling, you put your chips out, they take your chips away. And Hex, you're getting more chips. What they're valued at, nobody knows, but you're getting more chips every single day. If the price goes up, maybe you sell a couple. But guess what? You're getting more chips. And, you know, I try to break this stuff down. They're like, oh, this guy's a moron. Listen to him try to explain this easy. You know who I'm explaining it to? I'm explaining it to the morons to say, look at this guy. He's a moron. That's who I'm trying to explain to when I do these things, because these guys are the ones not getting it. Our people get it. We understand. We're not afraid. All these scare tactics and things that people use, they want to say cult. They want to say these guys are scammers. They're doing the spider thing, man. Don't look over there. There's a spider. You don't know if there's a spider over there, but you know there's not a spider here. So if you stay here where it's safe and you don't go over there, there isn't a potential spider over there. So they use these scare tactics to screw with people, and it's sad because in the meantime they're shoving these platforms down their throat that always fail. This is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. These platforms always fail. Maybe one day somebody will build one that doesn't, but up until this point, they always fail because you're always putting somebody else in responsibility for your money, and they're always setting up systems for you to lose your money so that you never claim. And sometimes they get overconfident that you're not going to claim anyway, and then they spend your coins, and then you come back and ask for your coins back, but they're already gone. It's like leaving your wallet with your buddy in a casino. You're going to leave your wallet with $10,000 with your buddy in the casino. Why would you leave it with a stranger on the internet? Because that's what you're doing when you're leaving your money on centralized exchanges. Have you looked at the incompetent people that ran FTX? Dear God. I mean, is that who you want to leave your money with?
And you heard about it everywhere. FTX and BlockFi, and you mentioned Crypto.com. They, at one time, a few weeks ago, I thought they may be going under. Who knows?
And they were playing. Okay, so this is proof of reserves game, right? Sending money back and forth to exchanges so they can take a snapshot, so they can say proof of reserves. All of these exchanges are fractionally reserved. You know they are, because they haven't had to prove that they had anything all this time. They've got buildings to pay for. They've got power bills. They've got employees. All of them. You know, if there is the real Ponzi. If they do not bring new users in and they cannot collect trading fees, they cannot pay their employees in their buildings and their offices. Okay? You know, this is the important thing.
And one thing you mentioned about scams and being involved in so many other things, that's one thing I'm grateful for. Another
not scams.
It just
you've been involved with all these other things. You've been involved in so many scams, Johnny.
Well, Hex kept me out of these things. My point is, like, there would be a lot of other tokens that may not be scams, but they were going to go to zero. And Hex kept me from going into those. Once 2020 came around, 21, I was so confident in Hex. I knew it worked and it proven itself even then. That I didn't get into any other coins. If I had extra funds, I would just buy more Hex. And we have Richard Heart is quite the enigma for many people, especially if you don't know him. Up until like right now, like the marketing version of Richard Heart, the presence has changed a few times over the year. From the guy who made the quality self-help videos, improvement and stuff on YouTube, to this Hex creator, this outrage marketing guy. Yeah, I want to get your opinion. Like, what do you say to people like if they just heard about Hex right now and they got questions about Richard Hart? How do you explain that?
He's playing a character. He's playing a character. He's playing a character, and he's dressing like a clown. And for God's sakes, I mean, look at some of the shit, for God's sakes. If you don't know this is an act, this is no different than like the video that I gave you that I just set up there. Can you see it?
Let me check this out real quick. For those of you that may not know what we're talking about, this is
This is outrageous.
Richard's playing a role like I'm playing a role right here, guys. Okay, here we go. This is Francis Finance. He is basically the average crypto influence. He is the incarnation of what the average crypto influencer actually is. We call him Francis Finance. Let her rip.
Okay, let's roll.
I've infiltrated the Hexicans, and look, they're out here showing off all their sports cars and stuff. I'm one of the Hexicans now. You see, they hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm just me and, you know, a Hexican just hanging out, checking out what you guys got going.
You don't want to know, but check this out. Are you Blippy?
My name's Francis. Francis Finance. I'm a Hexican. What do you guys see? I got the shirt and the hat. I'm just gonna go check this out. And there's all these people I don't understand. Oh my gosh. I'm just your regular Hexican here. Just pay no mind. That's Matty Allen. Apparently, he likes sending money to his future self. He doesn't click my Bybit links. I'm gonna keep on moving along
What,
here.
you don't want to talk about Hex?
Come
on, you silly
but
influencer.
I'm one of you guys. See, I changed. I converted. Look, I got the hat. I'm out here.
How long have you been doing the Francis thing?
So the Francis thing came along because I really wanted to encapsulate how I saw these crypto influencers and how funny it was that people actually took these people for what they had to say. It was phenomenal to me that they were this lame. Really, I mean, that's like the embodiment of most of these influencers. And it's like, how can people take these people seriously? You know, so I wanted to turn it up, and I wanted to be honest, you know, so somewhat honest about what I'm doing. So he like says, and click my Bybit link, you know. So you know, I wanted to kind of expose some of the business model behind the crypto space so people understand that they're being fooled, and they're being fooled by the wrong people. They're being fooled by the people that are running around calling themselves experts. You know, we are not selling anybody anything. We are literally just fans of something that we discovered on our journey through the landmines of the crypto space. And we found something that actually does what it's supposed to do. And we just want to share that with people so they can try it out and see for themselves that not all crypto is bad. I mean, really, like Hex is the thing that's supposed to show you what crypto can actually be. And you know, people get you all worked up and they're like, if you go into the Hex, you're going to lose all your money. You can lose only as much money as you put in. Hex does not tap into your bank account. It's not going to go rob you at your house. Okay. Hex, you can only lose the money that you put in. So what I tell people is you take your Vice money, your money that you know you're going to lose anyway, whether you're going to the bar, whether you're going to the strip club, whether you're going to the casino, whether you're doing it with scratch off tickets, you take that money, you save that, you take it at the end of the month, and you buy yourself some Hex with it. My question is, what do you have to lose? Seriously.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, HexDex, he saved up his jar of change. He's a millionaire now. He's got 10 acres free and clear in Montana because he saved up change from cars and bought early into Hex. That's what he did with his change. So I don't understand where the risk is here. People try to make it like, oh, this is this big risky thing. And then they're like, oh, these guys talking about it, they're going to get in trouble. None of us are paid. We're not the paid shills here. None of us have collected a dime for talking about the thing that we like. we're fans. We're tailgating out here, man. We're tailgating.
The community is
good time
huge.
talking about the things that we like.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Johnny. Yeah, I look around at other crypto communities, and it's not just because I'm in this that I know it, because I've been in crypto for a long, long time. There really is something unique and different that sets the Hex community apart. We really do care about people, and we want them to get into something that's true to itself. Like if you put money into Hex and you lock it up, you and you alone are responsible for dealing with the code, just you and the code. And if Hex is 10 cents next year or it's $1 next year, nobody can take that away unless you're hacked, unless you do something silly with your wallet. But it's a personal trait I've noticed about you, Johnny. I want to say this. I know your time is limited. You're not the kind of person who
We'll go a little bit. We'll go a little bit more here, man. I got another video clip for you too, because I'd like to have this kind of in an evergreen format.
Good.
So
I would love that.
I'd like to share a little bit more with you, on my experience. I hired a camera guy to go with me to Las Vegas and follow me around, so that I could remember the experience. And because first of all, I wanted to party and I didn't want to have to run around with my phone and like record everything. So I mean, it's not like I was really being posh or anything. And the second thing was, I forget things, and I go to conventions and trade shows and I very seldom remember anything about them. So I wanted to kind of capture some of that. And, people call us a cult because they're not used to seeing what we've got going here, right? And I guarantee when Altcoin Daily walks in a room or Lark Davis walks in a room, he does not get the welcome that I got when I went to the Las Vegas meetup. So what encourages me to do this is the fact that I met all of these people that were inspired by my words, that helped them stick with the program and not jump out of their positions and hold on when they felt like selling below a penny because they thought it was all over, when the FUD was heavy. And they appreciate what I do. So none of this is staged. This is literally my experience that I wanted to document going to the Hex convention that I had someone follow me around with. And that's this next clip here.
Nice. Let me show that too.
So do we look like a cult, guys?
Everybody embracing the chaos.
Freddie came in hard, knocked my hat off.
Yeah, he did.
But
Man, I'm so glad you got this stuff.
Look at this crowd, man. We're tailgating out there, man. This is
Look at that
tailgating. Beautiful.
What is that, Johnny?
Brian McGruder bought this to me all the way. I'll get it for you.
Go back to that touch. What the heck was that? I rewound it just
So
a touch.
Brian McGruger got me this beautiful case
Oh, look at that.
with these two full silver. I mean, I don't even know what an ounce of silver is worth here, but they'll never go anywhere anyway. But he brought me these beautiful pressed coins and this beautiful display box.
Man, that box
And,
is sweet.
I had another artist that had done this.
High school Johnny.
Yeah. This is all done with acrylics, and it's real. It's legit acrylics. I did pay for this. It wasn't given to me. I did pay for this, but I had other people send me Dr. Pepper. Literally, I met up with them at one of the meetups, and they knew that I was trying to find a gas station with Dr. Pepper in it. So they actually found the studio address and sent me a case of Dr. Pepper and said thanks, for taking the time to speak with me and stuff. So yeah, Matty got a hug too. He was in that. He was in that mosh pit.
I saw myself. I'm so glad you actually documented that, because I remember seeing bits and pieces of that. I didn't see the long form. So it's so good to have that just for 10, 20 years down the road to look at something where we don't have bits and pieces of each of us taking pictures. You actually had someone come in and follow you around.
And the hard drive got damaged, so I've been missing some of that stuff to kind of refit it and put stuff together. And so this was not a staged thing. This was something that happened after that first couple days. And my camera guy said, we should, you hugged like 250 people. I was counting. He's like, we need to just kind of clip all the hugs together and kind of show that. And I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. Let's put that together, because it really kind of shows how welcoming the community is.
Yeah.
Nobody tried to stab me in the back with a knife or put me on a sacrificial altar or anything, right? That's really kind of crazy. But look, people are not used to that level of attention. Even the influencers out there, they don't get that kind of welcome.
No.
They got to be jealous as hell to see that kind of shit happening out there.
And they have hundred thousands, some of them have 1 million subscribers, these big names. And you
nobody
have to be
cares
engaged
when they
on
show up
Twitter.
in a room.
Right.
And I had all of these people. I couldn't go pee, man. I tried to leave the area after doing my speech. It took me an hour to make it 500 feet, because every step I took, somebody stopped me. I'm like, I gotta go. Like, really, I'm not being rude. I gotta go now. Because I'm trying to stop and talk to people on the way out of there. And again, this is not that I'm bragging, that I'm some kind of big deal. This blew me away. I've been in the art industry and I've been a vendor at shows. I've helped train artists to make sales and stuff. I mean, I've got other things that I've done for other communities that I've gotten props for. I've got trophies from being inducted into the Hall of Fame of different conventions and trade shows. I've done a lot of cool shit, and nothing has been like this.
Yeah, it feels so much more like a family, honestly, when you have things like this, because we see each other on Twitter and we see each other on YouTube. It feels like you've met these people before, but it seems surreal. And you're not the kind of guy who's looking for the spotlight, Johnny. You don't seem to have this driving interest to have 100,000 followers. Yet I've seen your Twitter blow up over the last couple of months. What do you think are the reasons, like, for the uptick in your channel's growth, like, recently?
I really think people are looking for somebody honest to tell them how it is, no matter whether it hurts their feelings or not. I think, that's what people were drawn to about Richard. And then, but sometimes people conflate that I'm repeating what Richard says. Mm-hmm. No, I'm my own individual. And they like to make that excuse, right? They don't want people to have similar beliefs or believe in similar things, right? Because if you believe in similar things, you're a cult,
Right.
right? Okay. You
But
like
what-
coffee? I like coffee. Coffee's a good thing. We got a similar belief there. Do we think crypto should be held off of exchanges? Yeah, well, look, there's another similar belief. So, I mean, through our communications, through COVID, through reaching out to other people, to bouncing ideas off their head, because look, we didn't know whether or not this thing was going to work. We had questions. We had all the same questions that people have been asking for 3 years. The only difference is we have the answers, and everybody else is still stewing on the same couple questions and running around like a hamster in a wheel, and not listening to the answers that are being provided for them. Do we know that a large majority of the coins are owned in a centralized capacity? Yeah. Well, Richard could sell those if the price could go to zero. Yeah, he could. And any founder of any other coin could do the same. Why don't they? But Hex is highly centralized. And guess what? We know also that if you go on to Etherscan, you can look up any successful ERC20 token, and every single one of them, any successful ERC20 token is 80 to 90% owned. Actually, 80 to 98% owned by the top 200 wallet addresses. You know how much the top 200 addresses in Hex own?
How much?
47%. So take that into consideration, because the OA expands beyond those 200 addresses. That's why a larger, but there are people that have OA-sized wallets that have daughter-sized wallets.
Right.
Okay. So you don't know which ones are which, but people in our community, of course, have done the audit, and they can link this and link that and link that. And you are chasing ghosts because you're worried about a guy shooting himself in the foot and giving up unlimited bragging rights for the rest of his entire life. I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good point. And I tell this to people almost every week. I feel like this comes up about, the OA. Everybody thinks is Richard Hart, and the guy's going to have a lot of hacks, I'm sure, but we don't know who the OA is specifically. But even if it is Hex, Richard Hart, I always tell people the guy, he wants legacy. He really wants to be known when he's gone for doing something great. So if there's anybody, I look at it as almost for spite. If I'm in Richard's his head right now, he's thinking just for spite. Even if I was going to sell some, I'm not going to do it right now. I've got other crypto. I'm a multi-millionaire.
Just what he collected in polls, just what he collected in the poll sacrifices. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He would have to spend $1 million every week for 40 years in order to spend that money. He doesn't need to sell a Hex.
Exactly. I think, like I said, just for spite. I
think
the
money that he sold at the top was his Bitcoin. And if anybody was smart, they would know how to do the chain analysis and figure out what wallets are what. But I'm not going to tell you how to do it.
Right.
Because anybody that's saying he's selling Hex, he sold Bitcoin at the top. Yeah. He had more than Winklevi status in Bitcoin at one time. Okay?
I don't think people realize that I don't think they've done the due diligence to look at his old videos.
And the Bitcoin is really stupid to be in the face of somebody that owned more like 1% of all Bitcoin. Okay. They're pretty stupid to be in this guy's face, because he did. He did not sell at $20,000. And he was crying on Ivan's show because he called himself stupid because he didn't sell. He had to wait to the next cycle. Right. And when Ivan said, well, why are you upset? He said, because I have a problem with holding on to these things. I don't want to let go. That's an important line from that video. You can look it up. When Richard's talking to Ivan on Tech back during the crash of 2018.
Man. Trevor in the chat has said, what do you guys think about all the projects launching on Pulse Chain? Do you think it helps or hurts Hex?
So
it's going to be a lot. I think we've got over 120 that supposedly are going to launch, within the first few weeks, but I don't think it's going to
one or two might live. That's the odds. One or two might live.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're gambling, you're speculating. Okay. We don't know. See, here's the thing, right? Most businesses fail. Almost everything in crypto fails. Okay. I'm not saying there will never be another product that will not get adoption, but you cannot predict what people are going to buy and what they're not. I have things that I have done that are masterpieces that I've maybe sold 20 of. I have things that I've done that look like a piece of junk, and I've sold thousands of them. Because you cannot predict how the market is going to behave. You're not going to be able to predict how long the market is going to stay consistent. You're not going to be able to predict whether or not people totally, it's a sleeper and people totally don't care at first, and then later they come back in and buy it, kind of like Doge.
Yeah. NFT.
Nobody bought Doge. Nobody cared. Doge was a joke. Now all of a sudden it's outperforming Bitcoin. Why is that?
Doge.
No reason, no logical reason whatsoever. Just other than the fact that people buy it and hold it and don't sell it. More people are interested in buying it than selling it. That's it. That's all it takes. And this is where people have it's really funny. Hex is gonna fail because Richard's an asshole. Well, guess what? People are buying tickers. Not everybody in the world even knows who Richard is. Not everybody in the world cares. You know what everybody cares about? They see a sticker on a wall that says hex.com and they see that logo and then they go to buy it and they see it again and they go, oh, I'm familiar with that. I should get some of those. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to dictate what the market's going to do. You don't get to make purchasing decisions for everybody. If you did, nobody would ever buy Doge and SHIB, but they did. So it's funny when people are arrogant and they think they can tell people what people are or are not going to buy. You don't know. You don't know till they do. And it doesn't matter whether it's the best product in the world or the shittiest product in the world. People will buy anything. There's a place called Mooseberry Mansion that literally sells moose shit and people buy it. Okay?
Is that a real thing?
Real thing. All right? People buy coffee made out of bat shit. I think they're bat shit crazy. I would never buy that, but apparently there's a market for it. So anybody that says there's no market for it, that's bullshit, right?
And talk about Pulse Chain. We there's gonna be a lot of projects on there, and I'm sure people are gonna take advantage of Pulse Chain when it launches. People that suck and they're gonna put scams on there. We're a community that's gonna look out for each other, and even if it's like you're saying, if one or two of them actually are successful, and there's 50 or 100 that launch in the first few weeks.
But what do you need really? So here's the factor. What do you need really? I know what I came in this for. I came in this for passive income, and I found it. How many screwdrivers do you need? How many hammers do you need? Right? If you got a screwdriver and a hammer, do you need a power drill now? What are you going to add to it? It better do something different because I already have the things to do what I need it to do. So they're going to have to offer me something unique and different for me to be interested in using those things, right? Something that I need. I don't need a leverage trading platform because I'm not going to risk my position. I don't need a lending platform because I have enough that I don't need to borrow. So, there's a lot of things that are being developed that I personally don't have a use for. Do I care whether or not they succeed? Not really. That's on their own merit. Why should I even concern myself with them, really, if I have what I need? The problem is these things come in and they expect entitlement that, okay, we're building on Pulse. You Hexicans have to all fall in line and buy our shit. Well, I don't show up to a convention and tell people to buy my shit. That's not how it works. You make your presentation, you make your pitch, and then if people like it, they'll buy it. If they don't, that's not on us. That's on you. Market your own damn product. If you can't take responsibility for marketing your own damn product and you can't survive scrutiny, that's on you. If you build anything, you'll be scrutinized. I got scrutinized for making a damn blood paint. Don't whine to me because you can't sell your digital asset because Johnny said mean words.
And we're going to be supportive. I mean, our community, the Hex and Pulse Chain community, if there are good projects on Pulse Chain, this community is gonna support them. We've got like an in-house team that will, weed through these and figure out which ones are going to be worth, looking into and investing in. So,
yeah, but not everything's going to fit everybody,
right?
Not everybody's going to have a need for everything.
We need what? We need obviously Pulse. We need a DEX. which is it's gonna be there. We need a fiat on ramp. What else?
Yeah,
do you
and if the fiat on ramps work good, we'll promote those.
right?
You know, people are going to want to leverage trade, but I would never promote leverage trading. They're going to have to do all their marketing on their own. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to send people to the meat grinder. It's not going to happen. Whether now the difference and I think some of the things that are being built is the fact that it's in a smart contract, so therefore you don't really have to worry about whether or not the liquidity is there. You know, if it's locked in the smart contract and there's no admin keys, so that's a little bit different than giving a leverage trading exchange all of your coins and letting them do shit with it, right? So if it's locked in a smart contract, there's a little bit of a variance there, right? There are cases where somebody might use a loan mechanism for maybe a short-term loan or something. But I like to plan better than that. I should not be in a position where I have to borrow, right? So, you know, yeah, there are things that can be used, but the problem where the problem happens is if you have a limited amount of income, you're not in a position where you can diversify. If you do not have millions of dollars, you can screw this idea of diversification. You need to be in the most solid thing that is going to allow you to gain consistently without worry of loss, right? And that thing is Hex currently. Okay. Later, you can expand, but I would get my Hex set so that I know that I have a continuous passive income. And then if you want to play around with some of the other shit, go ahead. Go do it. But at least then you'll have something stable, right? And I don't like gambling. I don't like to send people to gambling. Gambling is a failing strategy. Like I said, you know, you put your chips out there and you hope that you get something back. I like to know that every day I'm getting something back, right? You can't do that with Bitcoin, right? You got to buy mining equipment. You start at a net negative before you even start earning. People don't understand how spoiled they are. You get to keep your coins, you get to stake your coins, and you can always sell those coins back. You can't always sell your mining equipment back. Your coins actually hold some value. Your mining equipment doesn't. Okay? This opportunity of being able to be part of receiving the inflation without having to buy special equipment, not having to pay for facilities, not having to pay for power bills, being right at the source.
Mm-hmm.
With no limit, no overhead, no regulations saying you're not big enough to play in our playground. That's what I really hate about Bitcoin is the fact that you're not big enough to play in their playground. Go somewhere else, kid. Piss off. We don't need you. We're only here for the rich people. No, Hex allows people to do this at any entry point. You can do it with your change. Now, if you're going to stake, you have to be able to stake long enough so it's worth it for you to end those stakes, right? Otherwise, you do end up washing yourself out if you try to do these short stakes and you have to pay the gas fee. And we had problems with people doing that. Oh, it's a scam. Well, because Vitalik scammed us.
Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with Hex.
Richard could have walked away. He could have said, yeah, gas fees suck, y'all. Go take that up with that Vitalik guy because I don't have anything to do with that. That's his problem. He needs to get on that shit.
Yeah, I thought about that a couple of years ago when Hex was working, it was doing its thing, it was going up. I thought that what if that was all Richard Heart did? He just created Hex and he just walked away, let the code go. That in itself would have been incredible. But the fact that he's a wealthy guy, he doesn't need to spend his time doing this, but he does to create Pulse Chain and PulseX. And
he was mad.
Yeah, he was pissed off.
He was pissed off. I built this beautiful thing. It works great, and you guys fucked my people. That's what it comes down to. He was mad.
Yep. So now he spent, a year, 2 years creating Pulse Chain. If this works and it's successful, a year from now, I think so many people, even now, you hear the apologies. People are coming out and like, Eric Wall. And this is funny too. Don't even get off subject here, but I heard that what are the chances of a Johnny Chaos, Eric Wall conversation? I heard
he's a bitch. He won't show up.
Do you think he won't show up?
No, he will not show up because I will expose him for the ingenuous little bastard that he is. That's why. And he knows.
I would absolutely love to see that. Like even if someone moderated, that would be actually better.
He doesn't even believe his own shit, dude. He doesn't believe his own shit. He can't be that stupid. You cannot have a 3-hour conversation with Dev Kyle and supposedly be a code expert and not understand what Dev Kyle's telling you when Dev Kyle can explain anything to a kindergartner.
That's a good
You
point.
got
I
to be
love
below
that guy.
kindergartner intelligence. And Eric, supposedly this Ivy League silver spoon fed participation trophy little bastard. By the way, anybody seen an Eric Wall product? Seen an
No
Eric
hands
Wall
are going up.
product? Exactly. Because people that can't do nothing but complain about those that can. So it takes away from their own personal inferiority because they're nothing but a footnote in our history. That's what they are.
I think he likes the engagement of Hexicans. It's a big community where it's kind of a love-hate relationship with him
He's
over
a troll.
the years, but he's a super troll, and I think he likes getting under our skin. And somewhere in my mind, I really think he's disingenuous in a way because I think he thinks Hex is working and Richard did what he said he was going to do. So I don't know. Maybe one day he'll come around and do an interview with someone like you, and it'll be a light bulb moment.
I really don't like him because he is disingenuous and his trolling causes damage. Okay? It causes damage because he says things that sound smart because people don't know. They take him at face value, right? They think he's smart. Richard said he was smart, so he must be smart. No. Look, let me explain something to you guys. A guy that knows trivia and has all the answers looks very smart. Does that make him useful? No. That means he's able to retain knowledge and recite that knowledge that he retains. That's called memory. That's not called intelligence. What has Eric built? Show me. And then, I pointed out the fact that I've developed over 200 surgical trainers to help train better surgeons, and my products have been featured at the world's largest medical conventions. And he says, well, the barista serves coffee. I said, I would rather talk to the barista because at least they have a set of skills they can prove.
I actually heard him mention on, I don't know, it was a short stream or something, or maybe it was a YouTube short about how he had to apologize to his I don't know, his job or whoever he relates to about missing Hex and not telling his followers about.
Oh, I think he got fired, and that's why he's in Portugal now.
Oh, so
By the way, Arcane Crypto under 2 cents, Hex 3 cents. Just so you know.
I've heard,
Derek. Glad I didn't give you my money. Glad I rage spied on the day that you said Hex was the dumbest fucking thing you ever heard. Glad I rage spied. Hey, by the way, why don't you go ahead and look at what $1,000 is on that day? Go take a look, buddy.
Man, I remember, and this is hard to believe even now, looking back at the adoption amplifier in the first few days of Hex, even the first, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, there was times when I think Ethereum was around $120. You could get over 1 million Hex for
2 billion on day 33 for one Ethereum.
Just silly. So even if you didn't agree with this, you thought it was a scam, I don't understand why people that are supposedly educated like, Wall or Mills, why they wouldn't at least hedge just a little bit and put in.
Oh, he did for his bet. So
then,
if he kind of took a position where if Hex goes up, he'll have enough money to cover his bet to pay Dixon Piper when he loses.
Oh.
So he did buy a small position so that if it does go up, it covers the price. If it goes down, then he's only out that little bit of money and he still gets the rest of the $10,000. So these kind of things show me that he's smarter than he pretends to be.
Yeah, that's my point too.
But
I agree.
The problem is, I don't care if you're smart, if you're disingenuous. I don't like disingenuous people.
And he could have helped a lot of people.
I am a point blank person, and I do not like disingenuous people. I do not like people to get off on other people's pain. I don't like that behavior. Those people let's just say I just don't like that kind of behavior.
I've heard you mention that you're slowly getting away from the spotlight and streaming because I guess the bigger you get, the more influence and sway you have. And it makes you, I think you said makes you paranoid. Are you going to stop making streams? I love your YouTube shorts. Are you going to stop doing that stuff?
So here's the thing. I spend a lot of time worrying about everybody else. And then I look and I go, yeah, I'm fine. Why am I doing this? Why am I? It's like, and then I got to deal with trolls and people trying to run me down that have never done a goddamn thing in their life. People that run me down, somebody whose mama told them they were special, one too many times. Participation trophies all along the walls, I'm sure. You know, and I got these people going to critique me. I'm a self-made man. I'm nobody's bitch. I ain't nobody's employee. I run my own company. I do my own thing. People ask me to do things and pay me money, and I complete those tasks. My job is dependent on being able to complete the things that I say that I'm going to do. And in the crypto space, 99%, they never follow through on what they say they're going to do. So people don't understand what a diamond in the rough hex is when you actually find something that does what it's supposed to do. And these things occur so rarely. You know, it's once in a blue moon sort of scenario. Can something else come along and give Hex a run for its money and performance? Absolutely. Can a shitcoin come along and outperform Hex? Absolutely. It depends on if there's buyers or sellers or if they believe the narrative and how much popularity it gains. It has nothing to do with necessarily the style of the product or what it is. But look, if you like a product, you stick with it. I am a person that sticks with what's familiar. My e-cig juice is always the same. My drink is always the same. You know, I would eat steak every day of the week if I could get away with it, and
Me
my
too.
cholesterol wouldn't get too high. But now I'm getting a little older. I need to cut back on that shit. But you know, I'm a creature of habit. I've been married for 18 years. Okay, I don't go run around shopping, right? That's so funny. I said I've been married for whatever years. Looks what pops up in your damn feed.
Oh no! Speaking of trolls and feel good girls, damn it! You get rid
Three
of that.
girls in your city now. No, I just got done saying I've been married for 18 years. I'm good.
Johnny, slowly the right hand is clicking away, sending troll messages. Man,
You
this
mean
is
the one with the e-cig in it? No.
this has been fun, man. I've seen you on a lot of other streams, but I've never really dug in or heard like a lot of your background and kind of where you started from and some of your passions and stuff. I hope you don't stop streaming. I know it's got to suck to put out content and see trolls who really only want to see themselves get feedback from you or the Hex community. It's just so silly that that's the way it is. But I don't want that to discourage you because I love your content, and obviously from the Hex meetup and people, they have a good relationship with you. And I hate to see that end.
So the thing is, all the content that I've ever provided was basically to provide talking points for people that wanted to carry the torch and go forward. You know, there are people like yourself that like to stream. You enjoy it, and you guys should be able to do that. You know, I have always saw myself as support staff, not a leader. I provide talking points and explanations and stuff for you guys to recite and repeat and help people that aren't understand. That's why you give the analogies. And I think of these witty ways of saying things is so there are things that you guys can use. This is all free software, guys. You know, I put it out there for you to use. I never meant to be anybody's leader. I get freaked out because people are like dependent on my words, because most people are looking for a leader and they're going to elect you their leader, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
If you're available to put the spotlight on. And I've always just tried to pass that spotlight over to people that are more comfortable with it. I'm a special effects guy. I'm a professional mad scientist is what I am. I build things. I create solutions to problems that people have. They say, we need a widget and this widget needs to do these things. It doesn't exist yet. So we need you to create it for us. And I have to problem solve and figure out how to make that widget go from, the ideas and thoughts in people's heads and bring that thing into reality. And I mean, it could be something so simple as a beer tap, or it could be an emergency thoracotomy trainer or a carpal tunnel trainer or a kidney that's x-rayable, ultrasoundable, and endoscopable and works on all three filters. It could be anything because that's what I do. I solve problems. I made a tri-layer muscle pack that opens up in 3 different directions that simulates the way the muscles tear in the anatomy so that they can do the procedure with their fingers instead of having to use the knife because they like to simulate that spreading of the tissue. So, and how I learned this stuff, I mean, so there's a transition here that you guys don't catch because you're like, okay, well, he's just a Halloween guy. No, I've always been like a bit of a mad scientist. I've always built things. I've got multiple skill sets from chemistry to construction to mechanical to welding to I can't even I can probably write a book on all the different skill sets I've developed over the past 30 years. So I do a little bit of everything so that I can and I've had to learn those things, push learning, which is now I got a problem. How do I solve this problem? Well, I need this skill set to solve this problem. So that's always how it's been. Um, that I would add another skill set as needed to complete the task because I might not have enough skills to complete the problem that they presented me with. So, but how did I end up in medical is the fact that I was exhibiting my Halloween mask at a trade show, and I had a gentleman walk up to me and he says, wait a second, you make these? I said, yeah. He said, so you do your own sculpting? I said, yeah. He said, you do your own molding? I said, yeah. He said, you do your own painting? I said, yeah. He says, you do your own casting and your own production. You got your own production line. You got a system for doing these? I said, yeah. And, I got into the process. Yeah, we do 10 at a time. I set up my multiple tools. I go through and I do my airbrushing and I come back through and I do my next color. And he's like, awesome. He goes, and how do you run your mold production? It's like, okay, well, I set up my first mold, I pour that out, and then I let that one sit and I move over to the next mold. Went through processing with him. And he goes, here's my card. We need to have a discussion.
Was he in the medical field?
Medical field, yes, because they were looking for people that could build surgical trainers. And I worked for them for 3 years straight, building their product line. And eventually I did leave that company and now I'm independent. So I did go work for them for 3 years. And then from then on, I was just independent because basically they owned rights to everything that I designed. So I don't get the credit. I built them, but you don't know that.
It's like the rock.
And I can say that, but you don't have to believe me because I didn't own the rights back then.
It reminded me of like rock stars that made the music but don't really own their own music. Or...
Yeah, same kind of scenario, right? But so that's how that developed. And what was neat about that is because it took things to a different level. It was a new set of problems to solve. Like anybody could make something look like something, but can you make it feel and can you make it react like something? Can you fool the surgeon? Can you create the punches in the tissue? Can you create the layers, the different feel on how a needle goes through the different layers of fascia and muscle and fat? Can it have a different feel as it's passing through there? Can you make it bleed? Can you make it breathe? What can you do? What does it need to do? Can you make the bones spread to a certain point and then snap? Well, that has to do with manipulating materials. So you have to know what materials and what the properties of the materials, and you borrow some properties from other materials so that you can make a new material that has the ability that it flexes so much and then it breaks. So I designed a foam by running experiments of processing different levels of the isocyanate and polyol, and so I was doing chemistry to figure out what ratios were needed in order to make this foam do this certain action that would be able to, and we did a lot of measurements too. So there's like so many pounds per square inch. So we had the tools to measure, this pounds per square inch on whether or not it would snap, and how much pressure it's supposed to take, because the technicians would be very specific that they would want it to break within these parameters.
To be realistic.
So we would do that, So I worked with a lot of tools. I worked with a lot of people from different areas, from chemical to engineering, to develop these products. So we had a unique bunch of people that I got to work with, and I got the privilege of doing that. And I learned from them, and they learned from me, because I was there. But see, here's the thing, right? So in the medical industry, I'm the token special effects guy. They look at these other industries but special effects is borrowed from all industries. That's what people don't grasp. You have to have a little of everything to be able to do everything. You borrow everything. It's all borrowed. It's if you can't repurpose it, then you have to build it from scratch. If you can repurpose it, that's great. But if you can't, then you have to figure out a way to build it from scratch. And in the medical field, like I said, it's added that extra nuance that things have to react and perform and feel, in the real world a certain way. If you build something for on screen or camera, nobody ever touches it.
Right.
So, it could be a solid as a rock, and you would think it was gushy, gooey material, but it could be solid as a rock. As long as the camera doesn't know the difference, it doesn't matter. And in medical, it's really funny because they use certain tools like X-ray and ultrasound and endoscope. So I had to build a kidney that shows up on all three filters. And it took me 6 months to do this and a big ass box of kidney scrap because I had to figure out what materials showed up on ultrasound, how to get the ultrasound to read, because that's sound waves. So sound waves read differently than X-ray does. X-rays, with the photons. So so this thing had to show up on all of these things. And there were kidneys that were X-rayable, right? And there were kidneys that were ultrasoundable. And there were models that were endoscopable, but there was not a model that was all three, because the ultrasound ones actually had a solid core. So it showed up on ultrasound like it was a hollow core, but in actuality, what the ultrasound was reading was this solid piece in this kidney, and it read as being hollow, even though it was actually solid. So I had to come up with a solution to create something that you can send an endoscope in and you could look around in all the hollow cavities and everything. But you also needed to be able to read it on ultrasound. And then also when you hit it with the X-ray, you should be able to see the canals just as well. And 6 months later, it exists. And I'm the only one that's ever developed them in the whole entire world. So
Dude, that's fascinating. And people who may not understand what an endoscope is, it's just like a long black snake with a camera on the end that you go into someone's nose. You can kind of trace around and look around. So the fact
that you can see them now for pipes, you can get them for your camera
plumbing,
and go look in pipes now. They're very common, but in the medical industry, they're used for all these medical procedures, and they're necessary tools. To be able to go into a kidney and spot a stone.
Yeah, dude, this is fascinating stuff, Johnny. And this, I've known, about obviously your art background and stuff. And some of the stuff that fascinated me the most was the I don't know if it's airbrushing or like the human, like the girls, you'd have like airbrush the whole entire, not just like eyes or hair or face. It was
we give them a body,
torso and body. It looked incredible, like state of the art, like Hollywood stuff. So I love that side of you. I love that you.
Now see, this is where I tell people they're amazed by what they don't do. Right. So my level of artwork and the body work paint is not where it needs to be at all, because I work with actual world-renowned competitive body painters that are phenomenal. I am just a novice, and what you see is I have a workshop with one of my buddies that started out as a photographer for these international body painters, and now he's become more of a body painter himself. So I do training with him. So we do a workshop where he comes in and we do casting and molding and sculpting and the stuff that I do on the shop side. And then we do a couple days where we do body paints, and we call it our creature camp sleepover. Right. So he comes in from Missouri and stays with me. And, we basically work, we have a working relationship. We work those days, and he'll help me run production and learn things, or he'll have a project that he wants to finish up. So I'll help him develop his product. And then we'll do body painting for the last half, which is me trying to learn new techniques. And this is something very important too, right? So I experienced this where I have to reprogram myself. It's very different than painting on a live model than it is painting on a stagnant model, or a stagnant piece. It's very different because the model's a living, breathing person that bends and twists and flexes. And, if they stand a certain way, your lines don't look like they're supposed to. and you spend a lot of time chasing those lines because people move and you're like, oh shit, I put that down wrong, and and you only get one chance at it because your model is, you're on a timer, right? You're on a timer because that model's getting tired as you're working on her. If you're not fast enough, if you don't go through that fast enough, you end up with an exhausted model. You don't get the photos that you want. You don't get to finish it out. So, but what I'm saying is, it's hard for a person who has learned to do things a certain way to relearn to do things in a new way or apply them in a new way, right? And the same goes with crypto. People have learned that leverage trading is the way, pump and dumps are the way, this is the way it's always been and always will be. It's very hard for them to see that somebody has created a system that is different, that takes care of some of the problems that people were experiencing before with the old ways. And it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, plain and simple. They're not going to be very accepting of those old things. So through my experiences, from marketing and dealing with trolls in marketing, right? Dealing with conventions and trade shows and directly talking to people and studying psychology and being fascinated by psychology and what makes people work, what makes people respond. Do you know that Pet Rocks, do you remember Pet Rocks?
These were what, late 60s, early 70s?
Early 80s, Pet Rocks.
Okay. I mean, just a freaking rock in a box that was sold and marketed. It's crazy.
Yes. They made $1 million. Made $1 million on basically stones, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was a bet between a marketing person and a product development person.
I didn't know that.
Who won?
The
marketing. And the bet was, is it the product or is it the packaging and marketing that makes something sell? That was the bet. And you know what they found out? Marketing and packaging is everything. The product is very little. And this is where we need to not underestimate people flooding down the price, right? And bashing our product. We can't go around just rubbing it in everybody's face that our product is superior, because that's not enough. That isn't enough. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it's never going to get purchased because they don't know. If you cannot get people to try the product because they're afraid, they're never going to know. If you let these trolls run their narrative with their scare tactics and you let them aggravate you to where you're cursing at them and making you look like you're the crazy one, people are going to think we're toxic. And they're going to stay away because they're going to say, see, told you they were toxic.
And the bigger this community gets, the more the possibility of that happening increases, because, when this was new and Hex was a year old or so, the influences that were out there wasn't this huge amount of presence that people talking about Hex, or I'm into Hex, right, or have you heard about Hex? Now there's people who truly aren't Hexicans that may be in this for nefarious reasons. People are getting information from those people too. So that worries me that this big blanket of thousands of people are now Hexicans, and now that.
And we have a lot of anonymous people that are literally trying to make us look bad by putting a Hex badge on and acting like they're one of us when they're not. They're literally going in with the Hex badge on and they're fighting and they're causing chaos and saying really nasty things to people for no reason, and picking fights that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And then they're doing that, and it might be the same people that are turning around and pointing and saying, look, see, those guys are being nasty. You see what they said to me?
Yeah, they're just like every other crypto community. And that sucks. I never knew a lot of the things you're talking about, and this is good to have it recorded like this, because it's awesome to look back, like I said, years from now and have some.
I can't put 30 years. I can't put 30 years into this video, man. There's a lot of depth to me, man.
I love it, man. And I would love to have you back.
Collector, so I've got toys. I run a Halloween shop, so I actually have physical location. I actually do trade shows and conventions, and I do markets and sales and stuff there too. So I used to stay really busy, and then Hex changed my life and outperformed everything that I that I spent years of developing, and it's actually kind of depressing, to be honest.
Now you can just kind of relax and just do what take on the jobs you want to do.
I'm actually kind of depressed, man. I'll be straight with you, right? So you spend all your life building skills. You see people that are literally unqualified, like, I don't know, Sam Bankman-Fried, make $8 billion running away with a crypto scam, right? It's like, how do these people do this? How do these god-awful people that are literally nothing but scammers get rewarded so greatly, right? And then you got a person like myself that's been a hardworking person. I said, when I was younger, I ran as much as 5 jobs at once because I thought you had to chase that dollar, right? And I built up enough money to eventually, work my path to where I was independent and I had my own shop. But I'm self-made, and I was never a part of self-promotion. I wasn't big into advertisement. I mean, I do understand. I understand a lot about advertisement, and I think, Richard used to understand a lot about advertisement, but unfortunately, Richard's businesses are kind of outdated, and times have changed, and some of the old-fashioned ways don't necessarily work as well as they used to because they don't have the impact or reach. I mean, I've got $2,000 worth of Yellow Book ads that were absolutely useless in 2008 because of the internet. Yellow Book's useless. It was like that was the dumbest money I've ever spent, was buying a Yellow Book ad because it's useless now. Nobody uses it. Nobody even knows what a phone book is. You hand somebody a phone book now, they'll be like, "What the hell is that? I don't. What is this?"
The whole generation past that. It's funny.
It's funny, but I mean that's how it is, right? You can't market on TV like you used to. Why? Because TV's now split into Hulu, Netflix, DirecTV, Comcast. Popcorn Flicks, Roku, whatever. You got all these different splits, right? You can't advertise on the radio. Why? Because there's Pandora, DirecTV, or Pandora, Satellite, XFM,
Spotify,
Shark, Spotify. You can't advertise. You used to be able to do what's called saturate the market, which is you saturate the market that you control. So you can saturate the market in your area. So if you ran a local business, you just run around, you put flyers in everybody's mailbox, right? Or you mail out everybody in this area. Well, if you're dealing with a type of product or service that's actually kind of boutique and it's not something that everybody wants, your hit and miss ratio is like absolutely insane on that. Not everybody's going to be, needing foam rubber latex prosthetics or professional body paints or contact lenses or teeth. Not everybody's going to need that, and they're not going to necessarily need that all year round. So how do you market that? Well, the way you would market something like that is called retargeting ads. And I really hate spitting some of this stuff out because I do know that the haters do watch me, and I do know that they use the shit that I put up there. Hell, did you see freaking Crypto.com's commercial where they were talking about innovation through history?
No.
Their Super Bowl commercial where they're talking about innovation through history. I went on a whole big spiel about people not understanding innovation through history. And then I watched their commercial and I'm just like, really? Really? Somebody's listening to me. But anyway, but retargeting it's actually programming that goes on the back end of your website so that when somebody goes to your page, it plants a cookie so that how you get ads when you say go to whatever website and you show up to Facebook and you got an ad and it pops up. You're like, damn, I was just there. I was just thinking about that, right?
They're listening to me.
Yeah. So that's called retargeting, and that can be done on the back end of your website. It's actually fairly affordable. I don't run mine anymore because I don't want my level of business. I don't really want more work. Okay. But I do know how that's coded. I had a company code that for me. And then basically you just add fuel to your account, and it's like pay-per-click, but it's an effective pay-per-click because they cannot get away from your ads until they manually remove that cookie. And if they go back to your website again, they get that cookie again. So if anybody ever goes to Hex follows them around forever. That's effective marketing. That's going to do way better than the postcards because this is already retargeting somebody that already took the effort to go to your website. How do you get them to your website to begin with? Well, that's very simple, actually. You got all the stickers out there that say hex.com on it. If people go to the website, guess what? Now they're going to be reminded that that thing exists forever. If you can just get them there once, that's all you got to do. If you get a retargeting ad, you get a retargeting, and you only pay per click. So if people just get, they can't get rid of the ads. They'd have to click to their blue in the face to actually get rid of the ads.
I wonder if Richard has a PR.
It follows them to Twitter. It follows them to their Google Mail. It will show up in your texts sometimes, right? So you get a good person that can build the back code for retargeting, and you're good. All you have to do is pay for the fuel on that. And that is probably the best money that Hexicans can spend is that retargeting. Now this is if the website is in a condition where it's going to get the conversions. The website needs to be, we had people going, oh, well, it's a scam down here, so it must be a scam. We got to get it pristine. We got to stop focusing on letting these people bring their narratives to us, and we got to bring the narratives to them. We got to stop making excuses. We don't have to make any excuses. They're the ones making the excuses. 3 years, where's the victims?
Yeah, not zero victims so far. And trust me, if it was somebody that was victimized or supposedly got scammed, they would be loud everywhere over social. So it would be super
Mexicans
obvious.
don't shut the fuck up. You think if we were getting scammed, you wouldn't hear about it?
And even
Jesus
Richard Hart's
Christ.
other products and stuff. The guy's been a businessman for God knows decades. There would be a lot of people come out of the woodwork saying, yeah, Richard Hart sold me this or he did this. There's some text messages. So I don't know. I just think people are looking for.
Dude, you look at somebody cross-eyed nowadays, they're bitching. He was mean to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got art students that have come in here looking for a job, and they're like, well, he was mean. He said, I shouldn't waste my time doing this. No, that's not what I said. I said, what you need to do is take more time doing this, not waste your time doing this. I'm saying you're here. You need to learn this much more information before you're useless to me. You're useful to me. Otherwise, you're useless to me.
I'm glad we got to go down this path as far as like some of your history and what you're doing and your background and stuff. I think it's something people in Hex or people that follow you may have never heard before. And here we are.
They don't care. They don't care.
They do.
Dude, I'm the crypto guy. I'm the angry guy that yells at my phone and says things. But
You are.
all of this comes from life experience. Everything that I use and apply comes from my personal life experience. And watching human psychology play out. It's a lot of what you would call common sense, but the problem is common sense is not so common. The only thing common about common sense is it's uncommon.
We're at 2 hours, Johnny. So I'm thank you for your time, man. You've been generous with this. This has been fun for me. I like to sit down with you. I like a long form conversation like this and dive into Hex and crypto and your background. This was awesome. So thank you for giving us the time. I hope that people got some interesting little insights and tidbits about this. If someone wanted to know how to follow you, is Twitter the best
Twitter's the only place I really am. Sometimes you get lucky and you get some extended stuff, but Twitter's the only place you're going to find me. Again, I am not trying to be your leader. I'm just trying to throw ideas out there that you guys can utilize, and hopefully they help you somehow.
Well, there's your Twitter, Johnny. And if you get your website and you want to give it to me, I'd love to show people your website. Who knows, but your stuff, what you do.
I have many websites that lead you to where I am in my website.
You don't want the paper trail, but
Yeah, there's many.
if someone wants some blood from some Johnny blood, that would be great. What a good souvenir. Hey man, thanks again for your time, brother. I hope we can do this again. Don't stop streaming. And I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks, my friend. All right. That was a lot of fun. Honestly, for me, I'm kind of a fanboy of Johnny. Uh-oh. I don't want to start his stream again here. Oh, here we go. So that was great. 2 hours with Johnny Chaos, learning about his childhood, Hex, a little bit about Pulse Chain, his background with art and some of the inventions he helped make. Fascinating guy, man. He's lived a full life already. And what is it? In his 30s? Early 30s, Johnny? He's off screen in the green room. But hey, I appreciate you guys for watching this. Go over to Johnny's Twitter. I'll leave it in the links in the descriptions for this and follow him because he's one of the influencers that I follow closest on Twitter, just because of the shorts he does. It's really easy to consume that kind of information. He's funny, he's witty, he's super smart, and I really appreciate people like him in crypto. So I'm Matty Crypto. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch you on the B side.